Hi friends, I want to do a recap of the Ludum 55 jam game we did this year called Sum-mons. Sum-mons is a math puzzle game where you try to sum the rows and columns to a target value. Think Sudoku, but by adding. For those unfamiliar with Ludum, it's a global game jam with two categories. There's the compo and the jam, and each has slightly different rules. The compo is kind of like hard mode. It's 48 hours solo, and you need to make everything yourself. The jam is 72 hours with an optional team, and that's what we did this year. We had quite a few people working on it in and out. And this year, or this Ludum Dare, the theme was summoning. So I really want to walk through kind of the dev process over the course of the jam. Some of the things I think work really well for making games, at least from my perspective. Some of the preliminary feedback we've gotten on the game, and a little bit about we're gonna go from here because I think we're gonna do more with the game because it seems to be pretty fun. Anyway, let's dig into the game. So this is our jam submission entry, and as you can see, we have a bunch of screenshots here. We have a playable link and a link to the source code on GitHub. And we can hop right into the game here, and we start with a little tutorial. The goal is to sum the rows and the columns. So in this top row, we needed 2 plus what equals 4. So we line up those two goblins, and then we have to add the columns up to 3 here. So we go ahead and do that, and we finish the tutorial. So now we're into the first puzzle, and this is a bit of a spoiler. I won't go too far into the game if you want to be spoiler free, but here we're just kind of solving the puzzles, and I got a position wrong there, so I can replace something by clicking on it and moving it to somewhere else. So the puzzles go here. We have 2 by 2, and they go all the way up to 5 by 5 in the jam version. So we won't go that far, but I think you get an idea for the game here. And I want to talk a little bit about how we put it together. As kind of a fun backdrop to our discussion about the game dev process, I'm going to have a stream of the first day, development day, that we did building the game. It's just from my perspective, so we'll have the stream going at super speed. I won't be talking about it like super specifically. If there's something interesting, we'll call it out here in the stream. But one of the things that is really important to the game dev process, at least for me in these jams, is to get your development environment and tools ready ahead of time. Specifically for these jams, it's totally within the rules for Ludum Dare to prep your build environment and prep the tools that you're going to use, and get your CI/CD ready to go. And that's what we did. So we have a kind of a GitHub repo that we got all set up with our GitHub actions and ready to go. And whatever tool you're using, get your build pipeline ready to go and get things rocking and rolling. The next thing that we do is, the night of the theme announcement, at least for us here in Minnesota, that's 8 p.m. So it's usually announced on Twitter or Mastodon. And we'll start that first night just brainstorming. So, 8 p.m. to midnight, we'll just brainstorm all night. And we've kind of, over the course of years, kind of developed a kind of an ethos or a strategy here where we just don't write any code on this night. So just for brainstorming. So we don't feel any pressure to start coding, but, we just spend a lot of time trying to come up with the best idea. So we really spend a good amount of time just kicking around different ideas. And I'll show off the brainstorming doc here, but it's pretty nonsensical, and honestly, like it's always the last idea, but the last idea is what we went with, is a math puzzle game. And it was just kind of a stroke of genius by one of my teammates. It was, I can't take any credit for the idea because it was such a great idea. And we went and did the next big thing that I think is super important to check out and to do is paper prototyping, just to make sure that the game has legs without writing code. So in this example, we used Excel. So, as you might have guessed, the math puzzles are really well suited to a grid, and also Excel is really well suited to a grid. So, all of the puzzles here in the jam were designed using Excel, which I think is pretty funny. But this is the kind of thing that you got to do. You just got to do the lowest fidelity thing that you can do to prove to yourself that the game is fun and that it has legs. So that's kind of those are the two big things to do on that and that night. And then the next thing that we do, and we usually try to do this either that following in our time that Saturday morning, or if time allows on that night, which it did, is to start doing the planning for what we want to build for an MVP. So this involves ruthless scope cutting. We have a pretty good idea of what we can accomplish in 72 hours as a team. And it's hard to build that sense. I feel like it comes with, practice and doing lots of game jams. But we just cut scope ruthlessly just to try and hone like the perfect, not so perfect, playable MVP demo, so that by that first full day of development, we have something playable. And that's kind of our goal for that next step of Ludum Dare. Since we only have 72 hours, we really want to have something playable right away, as soon as possible, just to, make sure that we have something. Because, a couple times in the past we've had to pivot, which is never too fun to do. But if you have something, then you can start, getting your friends and family in on it, and then, you can play it. Good signs of something that has legs is like you're forgetting that you should be working on it and you're just playing it. So, and to manage the rest of it, I mean, it really is kind of a free-flowing idea, like we're all sleep deprived and we're all going at it, and we're all really async. So, a lot of us are remote. Well, in this case, all of us were remote. And the way we manage that is we kind of have we just throw things on Trello, and Trello cards is like people find bugs, we throw them in Trello and we assign ourselves to them. And, if we have a feature idea, we throw it in Trello and we just go for it. Now there are some, observations that I had, and some feedback that we got. So I wanted to talk about some of the feedback that we got, some of the observations I made, after making the game. So one, the feedback has been really awesome and glowing. A lot of good stuff, a lot of positive stuff, and a lot of little tweaks we can do to make it better. But honestly, the feedback has been really, really stupendous. It's been really great. The other thing that made me feel good as the creator of Excalibur was there were no big bugs found in Excalibur, which blew me away. That was awesome. And then this was kind of the first jam where we really exercised the Sprite plugin pretty fully, and that was a real winner too, because that just removed an extra step that we normally had to do, where we'd export it as an image and then you had to load it in. So you can just use the raw Sprite file now, which is great. Some other things that were really good is this time round, my brother was the full-time artist on the project, and that was great. In the stream here, you can see my programmer art. This is obviously not the art we went with, but no, my brother Matt, he went to town and did all of the stuff, apart from the tiles. He did all the characters and the backgrounds. And it's really stupendous. He did a fantastic job. Um, and then Carolyn, our other teammate, worked on the audio, which I think fits the theme super well for kind of like a dungeon kind of vibe, kind of ambient. It's like the thing we said was, what if elevator music was spooky? That was kind of the vibe we were going for. So another thing that was kind of that was good if you can swing it is have your deputize your friends and family as playtesters, and they are great at finding bugs and asking really good questions, because like a lot of the time I'll find that I skip over something that I think is obvious, that is not obvious to anyone but me. So just putting it in front of people as soon as you can is just a huge win. Like I don't think anyone would fight me on that one. It's just get your game in front of people as soon as possible, because they'll ask really good questions or stumble on like things that you can make better. So it's just huge. We showed the game at the Mega Minibar Indie Arcade in Minnesota as part of the IGDA ATC. I can never get the letters right. Independent Game Developers Association, Twin Cities, and ran into a whole host of other things that people want. Like nothing beats watching people play the game, but a lot of people wanted to click and drag, which was really interesting to me because I never tried to do that. But this is why you have people try out your game. And then there was also bits of the UI that some folks didn't interpret as clickable, like as click targets, which was, completely valid. So that was, that's a very good thing to, again, to get your game in front of people. And then we got a lot of really glowing feedback. And one of the fun things there is that basically all the kids did really well. Like I had 3 people while I was there beat the game, all 10 puzzles. And they did it in record time. It was pretty impressive. And, a couple things for next time, if I were to, do this again, I think I would pick a better resolution, because 4:3 is not great. Yeah, I'd pick a better one for mobile. I'd also probably upload to itch. It just helps with the discoverability. And then kind of like another one, and this is more like code related, is have some like linting and formatting rules, because we were kind of colliding. Every programmer has their own opinions about style things or indents or whatever, and it actually made merges kind of tough sometimes, because the white space would be all over the place. So I think that's what I would do next time. And I think where are we going next? Where are we going with this? And I think we're going to ship this on mobile for free. So it's going to be free. By the way, it's going to be free. We're going to ship this on mobile, on desktop, maybe Steam. I don't know if you can do free games on Steam. I'll have to look into that. But we're going to try to ship the game in various platforms as much as we can. We're definitely looking at like more levels. Right now I have a post jam version up, which I'll link in the description, but with 20 puzzles total. But I want to have more puzzles and more mechanics. So we're playing around with the idea of different like math operators other than addition, different like units that have different like abilities other than just like flat numbers. Someone suggested at Minibar that we have a unit that is like worth 0, but that would increase the difficulty by a lot, I think. If you had a unit that you could place that was 0. I think having more like different like aesthetics. So like like maybe you start in a dungeon, but maybe you go to like like a plains, or maybe you go to like the sky, or like different kind of aesthetics for puzzles. That would be fun. And then you to go with that aesthetic, maybe more music. And so we can maybe experiment with composing more music. And then there was a few things that were like, oh, this is like a thing we should backport into Excalibur. And, we accidentally implemented animation tiling, which has been on my backlog forever. And we're like, oh, that was accidentally super easy. And so, yeah, we're going to backport that. The other one that we should have backported a long time ago is Sound Manager, because managing the volume levels and the mute and unmute states of all your audio clips in a game is a real pain. So we have this bit of code that we copy and paste between every jam game that we make, and that's this Sound Manager that operates like as a global mixer. I think we need to backport that. But I think that's where we're going next. And if you have any ideas, please come check us out on the Discord. Hit us up on the Twitterverse, on Mastodon, on Threads, and I'll have all those links in the description. But go and play the game. Go and rate the game if you are participating in Ludum Dare. But we had a lot of fun making it, and I'm really excited about where we're going to go with this. I'm really jazzed. Be sure you check out Excalibur.js.com, and we have a lot of documentation up there, a lot of samples, and a lot of games on the showcase, including the post-jam version of sum-mons, which you can go play right now, with all 20 puzzles, 10 more puzzles not in the jam version. Please do check it out.